You can follow me on any of the listed social media, and you can read my manga over on Pixiv. If you'd like to support me, then please consider subbing to my Patreon. Thank you. Make too many corrections to the line art. I added this little detail here that I realized I missed, and I just kind of changed the structure for jaw a little bit, and I repositioned the eyes a little bit. So those are the only changes I could find. Might find more as we work on it more in detail, who knows. But other than that, I changed the background color a little bit just to make it darker. That way, because I want my environment to be a little bit darker. I don't really want a super bright background, because that's gonna warp my perspective on the colors and on the tones and stuff. So if you're picking a more neutral tone for your background, then I would suggest, just before you do the base colors, changing your background, just like the page itself, to a slightly darker color. That way, in relation to this color, your actual base colors for your character aren't going to be, vastly different. Like, you don't want to have like a super bright character even though they're out in the night or something, So we've just got kind of like a basic neutral color here. So what I will do, I think I'm going to start by just figuring out her skin color here. Somewhere in there. Make it a little bit lighter, just the tiniest bit. And just kind of messing with it till I get the overall color I want here. It's a little too saturated. A little bit better. There we go. That's a step in the right direction. Yeah, there we go. I think we'll go with that. So we can always, just map on a layer and change it after the fact. It's not really a big deal. We can make all the corrections we need to before we actually start rendering. But for now, I'll just go with this. And I still have my references up, just trying to make sure I'm not overlooking anything. And just kind of going in layers here. I do try to manage my color layers though, so like for example, like these first couple layers, these are just going to be like her skin. Because I find that if I get a ton of different little details on one go, I just tend to lose sight of what is actually in the layer. So I'll like render the main portions of it and then forget to render the others. So then when I think I'm about to be done with the piece, I'll look and be like, wait a minute, why is like this part just completely blank? Like, why is it not rendered at all? There's like no shading here. But it just comes with time as you figure out what you want to do with your layer management. It's not really a right or a wrong way to do it. But for example, you can, on this first layer, put in her headspace colors. And the paint bucket is pretty good, but every now and then, if you have some really fine points, it just misses like the pixel up in the corner of it. Really annoying. But if you're making like a finished piece and not just something that you're kind of just throwing out there for practice, you definitely want to look at those corners and these little points here. Like you can see, like right here is just missing some color. So you definitely want to make sure you're filling those in, which can make it a little bit tedious, kind of annoying, but it is what it is. If you neglect those, they will be noticeable in the finished piece, so we do not want that. I am still waking up here though, so hopefully I can move at a halfway decent pace. This should be our shortest part though. The other ones kind of, I guess not really the construction eyes, but some of the other ones just kind of got away from me. Alright, 'Alright, 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 just trying to figure out what I want to layer on next. She's got a lot of like dark browns and semi-black colors on her. So I guess we might as well just start with one of these darker brown colors. It's a little too brown, so we need it a little bit more burnt. That's pretty much exact, except I think we can increase the saturation a little bit, and that looks pretty good. I think maybe we could go a little bit more red. There we go. I think that is about perfect for her shorts. So we'll do that. Throw this on. Oh yeah, I guess all of this is part of her shorts. I forgot that this leg has a lot more of this pants material on it than her other one. So it's just, I was looking over and I'm like, there's no way that's all just belts over there. Although there's plenty of those too. Do that. But then what we can do over here is get one of her boots in, which her boots are almost the same tone, they're just a little bit more grayed out. Probably a little too gray, so I think I'm actually going to go back to this color over here and just make a slightly more gray version, maybe a bit more towards the orange. So I think we just need to lighten it. You know, a lot of this is just messing around with it until you get the exact shade you want, because you could always just pull up one of the reference photos like in your art program and just use a color dropper. That does work as well, but I don't know, I like just trying to figure it out here. That looks pretty good, and some of this is going to look a little bit different once you're done rendering it, especially things like these boots, because they're kind of have like a gloss to them. It looks like they tend to reflect a little bit more of the light that hits them, so for something like that, the base color is important, but it's kind of gonna get covered up a bit. It'll get really warped. We'll just add these, and then that right there. Okay, okay, I think that is good for that. Because this belt is kind of just looped over itself, it looks like, so. Oh yeah, right there. Okay. Let's see. So I'll just keep going here. So I will now get in the base color for this knee, which now that it's this big, it's not really the right tone. Or the exact right color. So I'm just going to keep going closer to the purples, which is putting me in the right direction. So I think yeah, I think it's something more like this. It's a little bit more gray. Okay, that's too far. I think this is about as good as it's going to get right here. So I think we'll just go back and redo that. There we go. And then do this part as well. And again, I have to fill in some of these little details here. Like, that spot right there, I don't know why the paint bucket didn't grab. Like, it's just, I don't know, the paint bucket just does some goofy thing sometimes. I'm sure there's ways to like go in there and make it a little bit more custom, so maybe it would know to fill in some of that stuff, but I guess I haven't messed around with it enough to know if I'm just not using it properly. But I don't know, it can just be annoying sometimes, but obviously it's a lot faster than trying to do this by hand, you know, just trying to add it in there. Let's see. Oh yeah, I guess this actually technically opens up, so we need to add a line like that. And again, it's like when you're doing these little base color parts here, you know, you're gonna be zoomed in trying to fill things in, and so you're gonna catch little tiny, you know, misses like that. So it's not a big deal. And luckily a lot of these things, like these little tiny details, are pretty easy fixes and stuff, so better to catch them now than to not catch them at all and just have something weird going on. But I also realized I need to connect this like that. But it's like little stuff like that, especially when you're dealing with a character that's as detailed like this. It's easy even when you're reviewing your line art to kind of just get lost in the detail and not really catch the mistakes. Okay, and there we go. And again, I like just flashing my layers on and off so I can see what I was working on. That's fine. I'll just keep working on the lower body here because it looks like all of these. All of these belts are the same color or material or whatever as her boots, with the exception of like some of these belts. So, but most of them are the same. So do that, and it'll be a lot of layers, but at the end of the day, just kind of keeping things similar will be helpful. So it's like I know that when I'm working on these belts, I don't need to zoom way out and flash my layer, be like, oh, okay, her teeth are also in the same, you know, this same folder here. Now, if there's other parts and details on the boot that kind of match up, I don't really have an issue adding that in now, you know, like these little yellow lines, like we can add these in. It's not really a big deal. I think that's pretty much what I want. I don't want these to be too bright. Okay, then I look here in my paint bucket, missed that chunk, but the rest looks fine. I was up pretty late last night playing Wuthering Waves, which probably wasn't the smartest thing I could have done, but it was a good time. Still trying to grind for pulls to get Yinlin. She's on the banner right now, and I feel like I need her. Haven't gotten her yet, it's very sad. I am in distress even now. Have this here. But no, the game is still just shafting me. If you remember my story from earlier, I don't even remember what part it was. I think I'm just in such disbelief that it's stretched across every part of this Dehya tutorial, to be honest. So if you're getting tired of it, sorry, but yeah, they absolutely rolled me over. So I've had to go to hard pity for every single 5-star I've ever gotten on the limited banners. And I've also lost 3 out of my 4 50/50s because I'm relatively new to the game. I haven't been playing for very long. And it's looking like Yinlin is no different because I'm at like 67 pulls in and she still hasn't come home. But she is guaranteed because I lost my 50/50 at hard pity while I was pulling on her the day she came out. So hopefully I will be able to get her today because I think I'm just going to grind out a bunch of missions and stuff. So that would be perfect. And then I guess these little belt pieces here, they look like they're pretty much the same color as her shorts. But I don't know, I guess, because I mean they're a different material, so we're gonna render them a little bit differently so they would stand out, but just kind of odd that they're like the exact same color, you know, but they look like they're the exact same color. So I think we'll just go with it for now, and I'll just through rendering give them like a glossy look, just to kind of keep the leather. Because I understand, like looking at the reference photo, these dark belts are not super shiny, but it's like they gotta stand out against her shorts somehow, so I'm just gonna make them shiny. Interesting. I see now that this little middle line on her foot doesn't exist in the original character design, but we're just going to keep that because I don't feel like erasing it. Okay, from there, we can do this belt. And this main belt is its own sort of color. It's like between these two. It's like a slightly darker version of that. It's like pretty much right there. I'll just do that. Like so. This is just the rim of it, I guess. There we go. Pop that in. And again, my little paint bucket is just not getting some of these pixels on the edges. It's an annoying thing to keep your eye open for. Okay, and then this part, I know this is open. These are open. Also, again, sorry, I'm still coughing. This stupid cough is taking forever to just go away. It's very annoying. Okay, so then this is open as well. And then all of this is the same color. It's just kind of in layers. So we will just, we'll have to dedicate a couple layers to it so that way we can get the rendering correct. Because really it's like, there's some layers that you can kind of get away with just keeping them all in the same one because the light's going to affect them the exact same way, but in areas like this where these little details are over top of this main portion of the belt, I like just doing them on separate layers just to make sure that if I need to add some shading right under it and stuff like that, it just makes it a little bit easier. Because then you can just fold it right under. Okay, so that is done. And then looks like this little thing down here. And I don't mind doing this in the same layer as that belt just because it's right in the same area, so it'll be a little bit harder to miss, but I probably will overlook it though, just because I said that, you know, I try to keep them all in the same area. I guarantee that while I'm like talking and rendering things, I'm gonna overlook that one spot, so it's bound to happen. But we'll go for it right now. Do this. Okay. Guess I might as well add in the base for her sigil thing. Okay. From there, I'm not going to worry about these gold pieces quite yet. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, we're going to keep this part here dark because it looks like on her little knee pad things, it almost looks like they're all connected, similar to her like shoulder pad, where there's just some like black, I guess, iron portions to it. So it doesn't look like they're super open right here, but we'll just add that detail right here because I kind of like leaving it open like that. It's kind of cool. But I guess back on our boot layer, we can darken this. Do that. And again, this is the thing too, even when you're working with dark colors, like in some of her reference photos, you know, some of her pants and stuff are pretty much black. But you definitely want to try to just use like an off black if you're doing that, because then it's pretty tough to show, you know, where shadows are and stuff. So like this little portion here, if we just made all of this just completely black, you just wouldn't be able to show that this is out of the light and has its own little, you know, shadow in there. Because it's just, you have a lot less dark colors to work with, you know. So the darker your base colors are, the less shading you can really do, because you're not going to have as many different levels of darkness to add in your shading. But then the same goes with the light. If you make your character way, like the base color is way too bright, you just really limit it by how much like lighting details you can add. Because, you know, if your character's base color is like right here, so right here I'm at, you know, a value of 90. So like I've got 10 more values to play with. Whereas if my base colors are like down here, kind of neutral, it's like, well, I've got 40 lighter shades to work with, and then I've got plenty of dark shades to work with too, you know. So try to keep that in mind. Try not to make your characters super bright, but not super dark either. It'll definitely help you in the rendering process. Okay. So I guess now we can add these like silver details, because she's got a lot of gold details on her, but then there's just a, well, I'm saying that she's got a lot of gold details. She's got like two. She's got like two things that are silver. So we will add that. Should I just make them gold? I think I should just make these gold, because I was going to make these little things here silver, but at this point they would be like the sole silver pieces on her, so we're just going to make them gold, just so it matches everything else. In which case, I don't feel like doing that right now. So we will work our way upwards, because I like putting all of the like the gold on pretty much the same layers as well. So I just want to get everything else kind of colored in here before I do that, because I don't know, for me it's like the gold will have the most dramatic lighting, especially to really add in like that shine. So I would rather just kind of get working on that now, or later, when it's all in its own little layer, kind of on top of everything. Add these in. Yeah, I was confused. I thought I clicked my little G pen layer, and the biggest brush I've ever seen in my entire life came on the screen. It's like, wait a minute, what's going on? And again, just try and, when I'm zooming way in, just keeping my eye open on little things like that. Luckily, you can use your little selector tool, this thing right here. It's a little operation. You can just click on whatever you're looking at, and it'll take you right to that layer. So, because you obviously, if I'm on a layer 10 places above that one, I don't want to be filling in details, because then when I'm rendering, it's just not going to affect that portion. And it will look goofy, and we don't want to look goofy. Okay, so I think for the sort of Under Armour sort of hand piece, we will just go with this same belt color, because I kind of like it. So we'll just go for it. I think it'll work just fine. Pretty much every finger I'm gonna have to fill in, which is wonderful for me. I think it's got this here, here, and then right there as well, which I know it's kind of layered under it, but this material's tight enough that I don't really think I need to put it in its own layer, truth be told. I don't really think we're going to see a shadow under the top layer, so we can just keep it on the same layer and have everything kind of blended. Do that. But I mean, you know, same with like the line art. You know, you can really just use as many layers as you want. Okay, I think everything is filled in nicely. And then I'll go ahead and add this red detail. So this is like a bright pop compared to the rest of her. No, that's like pink. Doesn't need to be that bright, but I think something like that is pretty good. So again, I'm trying to keep in mind, you know, the tone of my drawing here is different than the overall tone of like screenshots from the game. So I'm not trying to just blind people by having this extremely intense pop of red, But in her character design, this definitely jumps out as being a bright spot. So we will keep it a little bit bright. Do this. Okay, I think that looks fine. Come up here. So now I guess I'll go ahead and add in some of this black detail on our shoulder plate here. I might darken it just a little bit because it's like so like in the actual screenshot from the game, it looks like it's just literally pitch black. So again, I'm using an off black, so I still have 10, or I still have a couple different layers of darkness to choose from. But that being said, I already know that these are completely out of the light and just not visible. Okay, well, I messed that one up. They're just not visible to the light, so we're not really going to need to shade this. So that would be a case in which if you have something that's way out of the way that you're not going to have to shade, you just might have some light effects to add to it, then going darker is not the end of the world. Because like I said, I'm not going to really need to shade any of this, and even if I do, I still have a couple of different levels of darkness to choose from. So it should be fine. Okay. From there, I mean, we're darn near just at the gold portion, so I guess we will start working on her hair. So her hair does have some spots where it kind of fades into another color. So for the base colors, I think we'll add that in the rendering. I don't think I need to add it now. Sometimes, I think it's kind of a give or take. Sometimes I'll add it now, other times I'll add it in the rendering. Obviously, I'm going to have references up while I'm rendering as well, so I shouldn't look at her straight in the face and be like, I don't see any yellow. But, so right now it looks like she's got kind of dark hair. Maybe more of a purple hue in there. Like pretty much this, just a little more gray, I guess. Just a little less saturated. I'll darken it slightly. I mean, that's pretty much what her hair color looks like, so I guess we pretty much excuse me, pretty much got it. Alright, so her little ears are these little, I mean, they look like little cat ear things, but they apparently are not her actual ears, so I don't know what to call these, but they are not in their own little layer, so they're kind of going to merge with everything, but we'll make it work. So again, for this, the hair, the way that I kind of render it, which again, I've already mentioned, I'm gonna eventually figure out a better way to do it, just because it's like the one part of my art I don't feel like I've meaningfully upgraded or improved upon. So that'll be the next thing that I do, but for right now, the method I use for it, I tend to keep as much of the hair on the same layer as I can, just because the light kind of affects it all the same. But there will be some areas that will be in its own layer, but not many. So pretty much everything that's the same color, I'll add in here. Tiniest little spot right there, get filled in. But Yeah, this is the most annoying part of the paint bucket, is especially when you get to the hair, because pretty much every single point has to get filled in manually, which is not ideal. There we go. But again, I'm just looking over, trying to find any of these little missing pixels here. And there's plenty. But I think we got them all. So now, new layer. This portion here is the same color. Do that. And then, oops. Add this here. And then I will make a darker hair color. Not quite that dark though. Well, maybe it will be. Because these ones are pretty much out of the light here. So I'll keep them relatively dark. Because they should almost match, like when I'm shading the rest of her hair. Those little parts and pieces should almost just match that color, you know. Okay, do this. Oops. Go. Okay, I guess gotta fill some of this in. And then because some of these portions of her hair here are just so far behind some of these, I don't really want to do them as on the same layer as the rest of her hair, because then it's just gonna kind of be awkward to render it, because the areas of the hair where it's kind of like pointing out to the side, I kind of render it so that the light or some of my little hairlines and stuff like that, they're gonna flow with that to give it a little bit more shape and to help kind of imply that they, you know, have some shape to them. Obviously you can tell they're pointed out, but it's just little details like that do go a long way. But because of that, because they're not just directly connected to it, they're sitting behind it, I'll keep it on its own layer so that way the other stuff just can't get in the way. Alright. Oh yeah, I guess she does have this red fold thing behind her. So we'll do this. Yeah, and sometimes if you get super light with your line, the paint bucket just kind of goes through it for some reason. And then I'm just going to add a layer right here, just because then it's close enough that I should, in theory, not miss it over here. Add this orange portion. Again, I have to erase this. Oops. Try not to erase it so that pixels poke through. There we go. Add this in. Okay, so now we can add, so she's got like this little yellow part here, like for these little ear things. There's also what her hair kind of fades into, is the same exact yellow. So I think we'll just modify that yellow from down there, make it a little bit brighter. There we go. And again, not going overly bright, because the overall tone of this is going to be a little bit more neutral. So I don't want to shock people with this, especially because the gold is going to be our pretty bright portion. We'll do that. I will color her teeth. a little too bright for the tone here, so instead of 90, we'll do like 80. There we go, because again, in relation to the rest of her, this is white, you know? Because normally when I'm making teeth and stuff, if it's like a brighter picture, I'll just go all the way up to like 90 for any of the like really white colors, but for this, it's just a little bit jarring if you do that. It's just way too bright. So we will not. So I think I'm going to save the eye color for last, is what I always do, because again, the eyes are something that darn near through every single step I just find myself readjusting. So I like keeping the eyes like color layers at the top of my color layer folder, so that way when I go in there and adjust, I just know I just need to click the like top 2 layers as well as my hardline layer with them on it, because if I do that, then I can just readjust everything and it's no big deal. So we will start doing the gold after I fill in this black detail that I missed. It's also annoying. Hopefully, it probably won't show on your guys' end, but if you think I'm coughing a lot and you guys are hearing that a lot, you should hear all the times I'm having to click pause so I can just hack out the lung. Like, it's crazy what's happening to me right now. But I'm trying to catch them in time. But I've had to pause this like 20 times, and we're only going for 36 minutes here. It's kind of crazy. Okay. So not all the gold is going to be on the exact same layer. Just because, you know, parts like this arm are above the others, and even that's layered. But for this, for now, I'm just going to come over here and just kind of troubleshoot the color I want. I don't want to make the base super ultra bright, because then again, like I said, it would just limit how much shades we have above and below to shade and light it. So kind of feel like that is good, because it leaves me plenty of space to not only lighten it, but also add highlights, as well as plenty of space to darken it, and it's not jarring against the rest of her. So I think we will just go with that. So just trying to, as I'm going through here, I'm just trying to think about, you know, the layers, if it's going to be in the way of anything else. It's like something like this right here. If I'm trying to if I'm trying to render this and I've got like a highlight, it's probably going to catch this part here as well, and we don't really want that. So just trying to keep that in mind. But an area like this, where this plate is relatively the same as this one, like this one's raised up a little bit, but it's not over top of this, whereas this little portion here is a bit darker. Oh yeah, I guess there's actually that black thing right here as well. There we go. But again, a lot of it just comes with time and practice, and just trying to figure out how many layers you really want to work with. So we can even do the same here. And I'll do all of these little details here. Do these ones just because they are kind of separate from some of these other ones over top of them, so there'll probably be some shading going on under them. Do that. All of these can get under. That's super fun. Thank you, Paint Bucket. There we go. In fact, even these little clip things can be on the same layer. They're not so vastly different or over top of anything that they need to be separated. This one will be, though. There we go. And then all these claws. And some of these plates here. Not all of them, though. Well, I'll leave that earring out just because I want to make sure that trying to brighten up the other one doesn't get in the way. Oh yeah, I forgot this part is gold. And then this thing, I guess, is all gold, except for a jewel. And this is gold. Okay. Then I think start on a new layer here. So things that are like on the same layer can be the same. So like this right here, these aren't just so vastly on separate layers, whereas this obviously is hanging way over this one. So I'll just separate the layers out a little bit, and then go from there. So do that. Then do that chunk. This one. Gotta fill that in. Then we can do the foot here. Kind of catch this like so. And then come over here. This can get added. Same with this. And then add these little details right here. I'll even add this in because it's going to basically be the same sort of rendering method for this little part here because they're both kind of hidden, or both are more so out of the light. Oh yes, we can do her earrings. What is hanging off? Okay, so she got like a little jewel hanging off. I was just trying to make sure it was, if it wasn't like gold or something, then this is her hair underneath here. Okay, let's see. So I think we're gonna go to a new layer, add these little things right here. It's kind of holding her claws and stuff on. And then we can add all of this on the same layer. Then we'll add, oh yeah, I guess that's kind of like a yellow. So we'll add these right here. Then I'll add this. Same with this. Okay. Of all the things the paint bucket could have done, that is the least ideal. How did I miss this ring? Just this soul ring. There we go. Okay, and then new layer. Yeah, a lot of these are just kind of layered over each other, so that's why it's just taking so much more layers than I would really prefer to be using, but it is what it is. think I will make this little detail here that little dark color. I think that would look nice. So do that. But yeah, so this is definitely a detailed enough project that we're probably going to have a couple hundred layers when it's all said and done. So there'll definitely be a lot to keep track of, but I find, again, just go one layer at a time, finishing everything up as you go, and it won't be as overwhelming as trying to balance a couple hundred layers all at once, you know. So it really won't be that bad. Okay, then she's got this yellow, but it's like a very bright yellow. So I think we'll take this yellow from her ear, brighten it just a touch more. There we go. And I have that as the top layer. So again, as we're going layer by layer, when we're done, we'll be done rendering all this gold before we get there. So when the gold is fully rendered, if it's making that pop out and making it look strange, then we can just edit the base color then, and it won't be a big deal, because that's just one of those parts right there that once we're done, you know, rendering all the gold, that really could pop out as just being really off. It'll either be way too dark, or it'll just be way too of like a mustard looking color, which we don't really want. So do that. There we go. So now we can finally do the base colors for the eyes. I do the eyes and eyebrows on the same layer because typically if you're editing one, you just end up editing the other anyway. So I just keep them together. And we'll take our same color from our teeth for the whites of the eyes. I like keeping these pretty pure white, just so they're nice and bright, full of life. Okay, and then Dia's got like crystal blue eyes. It's kind of, I did not notice that originally, but I am still going to use a relatively neutral color just because the eyes, there's so much potential to add some really interesting pops of color and dark spots and stuff. So even though if I'm looking at her reference, her eyes are super, super, super light blue, we're going to start with this dark base color because we're going to build a ton of light layers over top of it. So we'll end up with those crystal blue eyes, but we'll have a lot more depth of color if we do it this way rather than just be like, well, her eyes are like this color. You know, it's like you can make it work and it would look okay, but if we get to some of these pops of colors from a dark layer like this, it'll just have a lot more depth of color and there'll be a lot more interesting things to look at in the eyes. But I think that's it. So in the next part, we're going to go over the background, which is going to be pretty simple. Because obviously we're like looking down on her, so there's not much we could really draw there that's going to be crazy interesting. So I think I'm just going to have her like sitting in the desert or something. So we'll figure it out when we get there. I don't really have a plan for it, so hopefully that video doesn't drag on forever while I'm trying to troubleshoot exactly what I want there, but we'll see. Either way, hopefully you found this helpful or got some good tips from it, and I hope to see you in the next one.